what's your business model? How do you make revenue? And if you don't have those, then it's unlikely that you can list it on exchanges.
It's amazing, right? That regulation is actually catching up a little bit or enough with DeFi in contrast with other sectors.
I think we need regulation, but we need it in a business and innovation friendly way. 80% of the people who come into our network today are non-crypto users. They're like truckers and drivers, people who move around and everything. But 95% of them redeem their points for XYO. We make it super easy. You don't need to understand blockchain to do anything. You download the app and just start.
How can founders ensure that they are not building for investors, but actually for the users?
That's a tricky one, right? Because
Hello, I'm Dr. Lorena Nessi from CCN. And today I'm joined by Markus Levin, co-founder of XYO. We'll talk about XYO listings, its upcoming Layer 1 launch, and how it plans to grow and lead the DePin space in a changing market. Hello, Markus. Very nice to see you. Thanks for joining us at CCN.
Hey, Lorena. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Shall we start with Kraken? Kraken required 8.8 million in verifiable revenue for XYO to be listed. How do you see this shift changing? Which projects get exchange access over the next few years and which ones don't?
Yeah, that is an amazing question. I love that. 3 years ago, maybe nobody cared about revenue. You were even, I think, if you had revenue, you weren't looked at well, because then it's like, there were decentralization question, or are you a for-profit company? And as you know, we are in crypto community, we are like these borderless hippies. So we don't believe in borders, and we don't believe in profits in a way, and peer-to-peer interactions. And they worked well right until we had bear markets and token prices dropped, and then suddenly all those projects went out of business because they didn't have any revenue. And so today. This question is often asked, and in listing applications, if you work with exchanges, always is, what's your business model? How do you make revenue? And if you don't have those, then it's unlikely that you can list it on exchanges. And it's a really remarkable shift because nobody asked this 3 years ago. And I think it's a proof of this concept called DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks, which are based basically on revenue.
And what does XYO exactly do in, if you can, very simple terms?
We are one of those decentralized physical infrastructure networks, or DePINs, and we started more than 7 years ago with the first one of them. In very simple terms, basically, we are a data company run on blockchain. And in a little less simple terms is we do this for location. Basically, we can prove that the location data is true and correct so that you have certainty around location. And we expanded it to really collect and validate and verify most other data as well, other sensory data, or let's say even offline data and so on. And then we connect it with smart contracts or Web2 partners.
So does this mean that I could use XYO, an app or something, and then get my data tracked, but actually own my own data? And
that's exactly right. Yeah.
That.
Yes. Yeah. You own your own data, and that's a beauty, and you are able to monetize it or keep it private the way you want to, contrary to like Google or Facebook or others, right, where you don't own your data and you don't know what's happening with it, right? And you don't benefit from it, maybe, except for using the products.
Yes. And well, going back to these listings and how things are changing for the whole sector, you've said that actually the era of ICOs is ending. So what does for you look like this era in which we have post-ICOs, in which these ICOs don't really reflect the value of the blockchain or the use of the blockchains that we're having?
Yeah, I feel two ways about ICOs. I think one of them side they were great because they were really community projects, and the communities were raising, and if you had access to them at the same level as VC had as a community member, and so that was really, really amazing, I think. And we did the same thing. We raised in 2018, 2019 in a bear market, and VCs were coming, trying to get better deals. And we said, no, you get the same deal our community gets. And they didn't like that, obviously, but that was a reality. And we raised $40 million that way. And today it's a little different. Unfortunately, it's often VCs come first and community second in the fundraising, and I don't like that. And I think it's going to start changing again. That community becomes more important, or if investors come in, they're locked up much longer than the community is, so that they are not able to win while the community isn't. And for us. So we launched after the ICO boom, which was in 2017. It's like 8 years ago. It's a crazy long time. And there was a bear market. And we priced our token sale in ETH. So the ETH price went down and down. So the value of our token went down as we went on to raise. And still, like I said, we raised about $40 million through equity and tokens, and built a really sustainable business model, and now are around for more than 7 years, and even have slightly profitable business model.
So you're one of those success stories in which actually community is also, well, in most projects, the community will play a very important role, but actually economically, you have proven that it worked. Right. And now we have this DePin sector forecasting to reach 3.5 trillion by 2028. But I think that we should have some guardrails, right, to prevent some unsustainable projects from actually riding the wave of hype or using this community, which actually is not powering a real project. So what do you think there should be done about that?
Yeah. Isn't it an incredible number? $3.5 trillion. I think we had about 100 billion today. In 2028, that's in 2.5 years. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It means DePin will change the world. And to be part of it is to be there now is like to be at the beginning of something like huge. And so I encourage other people to join, not just to invest in projects, but to build projects, because there's a lot of growth to be had over the next 3 years. And guardrails are very important. DePin is a little lucky there because it proves itself with revenue. So if you have on-chain revenue, or you have, in our case, we have audited financials. We are the first crypto company in the US, which was qualified by the US SEC to do something called a Regulation A offering, allowing us to sell our shares to non-accredited investors. And now, subsequently, we tokenize those shares and listed them as well. And so now we have annual and semi-annual filings with the SEC and audited financials and those kinds of things. So you can't be more transparent than that. And I encourage other projects to do something similar, where they either provide audited financials and from third parties, obviously, and or have on-chain revenue and so on. And this way, you can easily see if someone is real or not real. And so, DePin has this built-in mechanism, versus in a lot of other parts of blockchain, you don't have that. In DeFi, you have it, right, because you can see on-chain transactions and so on, but in some others, you don't. And so it's a little more difficult to gauge.
It's amazing, right, that regulation is actually catching up a little bit or enough with DeFi in contrast with other sectors.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And more is coming. I think the US decided to take over some regulatory leadership. A stablecoin regulation happened this summer. Clarity Act is in the House and Senate, and other regulation is coming over the next 6 to 12 months. And that seemed to have shifted the mindset for the global regulation. If you see what's happening in South Korea and India, Japan, and many other jurisdictions, suddenly from being a little bit more anti-crypto, I would say, they start to regulate themselves more favorably to crypto and blockchain, I think, because those economies don't want to be left behind. And I think that's a huge opportunity also, because I think we need regulation. right? Because we need to prevent things like the FTX and other scamming projects. But we need it in a business and innovation friendly way.
Well, hopefully it will keep on going like that. But going into more technical aspects of it, we heard about this proof of perfect consensus, which sounds unique, sounds obviously very different. And I would like to know again if you can simplify how it compares to other consensus mechanisms, let's say proof of work or proof of stake, and what are also the trade-offs related to it.
Yeah, so our blockchain is all about data. So it's a data layer 1, and there's which we're releasing. And so in the past we had proof of location and proof of origin, which we still have, and which basically is proves location and proves the origin of data. Proof of perfect is a consensus where you vote basically which part of the chain has the best outcome or the best results for you. It's a data question, and it's unique because you don't have the data focus with other layer 1s. And for us, you have that, and then we have something to prevent bloat. For example, our blockchain doesn't just increase in size. Like if you look at Ethereum or Solana, for example, right, their node increases in size, and at some point, as a normal person, you can't run the nodes anymore, and it's very, very heavy, and it gets very slow. And in our case, to prevent bloat, we cut our chain at some point so that not more transactions get put into there, and then to be able to vote, vote about what's a perfect result of something. You use a proof of perfect.
Great. Well, we're going to go into now this 744 million that is available for decentralized physical infrastructure networks, venture capital, DePin VC funding this year. So how can founders ensure that they are not building for investors, but actually for the users, for real adoption?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, right? Because you need money, and then the people who give you money try to dictate a little bit what you do, and then you have the community which is building a network, and then you have the demand. There's those 3 parts to it, and so in the end, you don't build for VCs, right? You build for your community and for your customers, which are the demand on the DePin side at least, and so you need to be able to balance those. If you tell your investors like that they get the worst deals, then they won't come and nobody invests in your business, and you're not even starting. And so, but if you give them the best one, then your community might lose out. And so it's important to balance that. And that, I think it's important to do this, for example, with investor lockups. Like in our case, for example, our investors are locked up for a very long time, but our community is not locked up, and other mechanisms like that, I think, help to solve that issue.
You have millions of users now, or millions of community members. What would you give as your best advice to build such a strong community?
Yeah, we have more than 10 million nodes in our network, and it wasn't always like that. We were struggling to attract people into our network. And when we started out, we had these IoT devices which you need to buy. You need to install something, and you earn some XYO, and it was difficult with wallets and whatever. And then on the demand side, we said, if you want to buy our data, you need to pay us an XYO. And we were dreamers, it's didn't work, obviously. And so we understood that at some point, if you need to increase our market and our addressable market, you need to touch everyone. And so launch a mobile app, for example, and with that mobile app, your phone becomes an IoT device in our network, and that accelerated our growth. And then in the app, we make it super easy. You don't need to understand blockchain to do anything. You download the app and just start. Then instead of XYO, now you earn points, which are tied to the dollar. So it's easy to understand, and you don't have the volatility. And you can decide to exchange them for XYO, but also for airports or PlayStations or sweepstakes entries and things like that. And people find that exciting, because now they can win a $15,000 trip to Bora Bora, for example. However, 80% of the people who come into our network today are non-crypto users. They're like truckers and drivers, people who move around and everything. But 95% of them redeem their points for XYO. So we built this onboarding into crypto, and people are really excited about it. And also, you can redeem your XYO into a wallet, but also you can redeem it to your Coinbase email address. We have a partnership with Coinbase there. And so just need to go to Coinbase.com, sign up, which is easy, and then download the coin app and start earning. And even my grandma can do that, and and that's the goal. You don't need to think about crypto. It's just you have to make it like ultra easy. And then on the money side, we take US dollars, ETH, XYO, USDT, whatever anyone wants to pay us with, right? And then we take that revenue and we switch it to XYO and then put it into our ecosystem. And so by understanding that and changing that, we were able to have this incredible growth we had over the last few years.
So how is it for your users then? Is it like a gamified experience, or they are aware that there's something similar to Bitcoin going on, or what is their experience?
Yeah, it's gamified, and it depends who you are and what you want. So you can choose your experience. You can have like a workout type of experience where you have to hit certain things in the town and you earn more tokens, or it can be a driving and navigation experience, and more gamified, and you choose your experience inside the app, whatever works for you. And this way we are able to talk with a lot of people. And we plan to gamify it more. And actually, we are also building, because we have this proof of location, we're building real-world treasure hunts in partnership with some games. For example, we have a partner called Upland, which is like a Monopoly metaverse game, and they want to bring that into the real world. And so if you go to an Eiffel Tower, for example, then you have the right to buy it in the game, or you earn some special NFTs and stuff like that. And so or we are talking with some big clothing brands about doing something with connected clothing, where you are able to you bring together like 10 joggers, for example, and they meet, and then they earn some points for the leaderboards. And if they do it, like they run, I think, 2 kilometers or something, right, then they get something right inside the app. And so it's all about providing these experiences and community, and basically making the earnings just part of your regular life.
Brilliant. How has XYO approach to exchange listings evolved since your earlier applications? What did you learn from rejections or delays?
It's incredibly hard to get listed on exchanges. And I wonder why that is. It's like, yes, of course, they don't want to list scammy projects, and they want to maybe have listing fees and stuff like that. Yeah, so they want to make it look difficult, but it's too hard. And I think it is not democratizes the access. In DeFi, you're able to have democratic access. The problem is DeFi is it's still too complicated. So my grandma can't do DeFi, right? But she can sign up on Coinbase.com, and so I hope that will change. That the exchanges will either make it easier and just list projects on the merit, and get rid of exchange fees and listing fees and marketing fees and this type of stuff. Or DeFi, will become easier to understand, so that we don't need centralized exchanges anymore, and that everything runs on DeFi rails.
Okay. So are there any specific lessons from that process that you could share?
Yeah. Be persistent, build your relationships. It can take years sometimes to get listed on exchange. Like XYO, for example, is listed on Coinbase. That took a number of years to get listed there. And then when it happened, it was a big surprise. And then we were happy, and our community obviously was happy. And just be persistent and build relationships. Often it's not enough to just fill in a form. Go to a conference and go to an event where you can meet the listing managers, so they know that you're real. And then you build a relationship and so on. And like the next big events are in Korea Blockchain Week, which is starts next week or the week after, and then Token 2049 in Singapore, which is the largest crypto event I think in the world now. Those are good events to meet the exchanges.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, and looking ahead, what do you think you should add to this conversation we have? And also, how do you see success beyond 2025 for XYO and beyond these listings and price action? What is success for the platform?
We built something incredible. For the last more than 7 years, we touched data and we didn't want to build a layer one. And then we were hoping someone else builds it. But I think nobody is as good as us with data. And so we decided to build it. And then we're going to build on that and over 25 and 26 release more features in the XYO layer one and have partnerships and then also put the XYO layer one, our DePin network on the layer one.
Brilliant. Well, we're looking forward to hear what those updates and surprises are, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them here at CCN. So thank you so much, Markus, for joining us today. It has been a very good conversation.
Likewise, Lorena. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was Markus Levin from XYO, and I'm Lorena Nessi for CCN. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.